Welcome to Chapter 14, Solutions. Congratulations, you've made it to the end of the book. That's fantastic. There's one more chapter left that is just strategies. So today's tip is just to remind you to review, review, review. Just because you've gone through something one or two times, it does not mean you've mastered it necessarily. So when you go through to the official guide and start working through the mixed practice sets, figure out where your weak areas are, and let's say it's the averages section, then go back to that averages chapter and work through those problems again. So for number one, we're given a chart with GRE Realty sales, and across the bottom we are told what each month represents over a 12-month period. The average cost per home is this red line, and the blue line is the number of houses sold per month. And the first question asks us for the month from 1 through 12 that has the lowest revenue that came in for the month. So what you need to do in order to calculate sales revenue is the number of houses sold times the average cost. So for example, in month 1, there were 200 houses sold and the average housing cost was $350, and these numbers are in thousands, so $350,000. So 200 times 350,000 would give you the average, would give you the actual revenue for month 1. So you don't need to do it for all 12 months, because what you should do is look at the answer choices and realize that you only have to do it for months 4 through 8 to calculate what the lowest amount of sales revenue would be. So one thing you can do is just eyeball it and see what would make sense. So for month 4, you have 300 times 650. For month 5, you're going to have 200 times 650. So you can already tell that month 5 is going to be lower than month 4. Okay, month 6 is 300 times 700. Month 7 is 300 times 600. So again, 7 is lower than 6. And then finally, month 8, it has the lowest average cost per home and the lowest number of homes sold per month. So that's why the answer is E8. So you can actually calculate out the numbers, but in this case, at this point, the red line and blue line are at their lowest points, so then that has to be the lowest amount of revenue. Number 2. Number 2, we're asked, in what month did lower housing costs seem to spur housing sales? So what we're looking for here is a low average cost per home, so we want the red line to dip down, and we want to have sold a lot of houses in that month because that would spur housing sales. Again, the answer choices are months 4 through 8, so we don't have to look at months 1, 2, or 3, or 9 through 12. We only have to look at these months here. So the average cost per home in month 4 was relatively low. Actually, it's at the lowest point, period. And the housing sales are at 650, so that seems to be pretty good. In month 5, our housing sales, actually in 5, 6, and 7, in these months, the average cost per home is actually relatively high, and the number of homes sold were relatively low. So we didn't have low housing costs, and we didn't have a high number of homes sold. And then again, for month 8, although the average cost per home was low, the number of houses sold was also low. So it actually happens in month 4, where low housing prices spurred high sales for the month. So the answer is A for number 4. Number 3. For number 3, we're given a bar chart that has the number of employees in the thousands by different metro areas: New York City, DC, and San Francisco. And we're asked to find, out of a series of questions, which one has the greatest ratio. So it's actually very simple. So for A, it says part-time employees to full-time employees in New York. So part-time to full-time. Full-time is in red and part-time is in blue. So if you look at the full-time is about, it goes from a little over 1,000 to a little over 6,000. So that is about 5,000 to 1,000. So for A, that's a ratio of 5 to 1. Or actually, this says part-time to full-time, so it's the other way around, 1 to 5. Then for B, it's going to be similar. They want part-time to full-time in San Francisco. So part-time to full-time is about 1,000 to 2,500. So if this is 1,000 and this is 2,500 minus 1,000, so it's 1,000 to 1,500. 1,000 to 1,500 can be reduced to 10 to 15, which can be further reduced to 2 to 3. Okay? You'll notice so far that these first two have ratios that are less than 1. So if you read through the answer choices, A, B, and D all have answer choices that are less than 1, and C and E have answer choices that are greater than 1. So if you notice that right off the bat, you only have to test answer choices C and E. So that can save you some time. So while this problem is easy, it can be a little bit time consuming if you have to test each one. So again, if you notice that C and E are the only two answer choices that give ratios greater than 1, then you can just test those two. So for C and for E, so starting with C, C says full-time to part-time in Washington, D.C. So full-time to part-time. So now we're going from the red to the blue, which is going to be more than going from the blue to the red. So from the red to the blue is approximately, let's see, 1,000 to 3,500. So that's going to be 2,500 to approximately 800. So let's say it's 2,400 to 800, or you can put this in your calculator. 2,500 divided by 800 is about 3. So if I divide this by 800 and this by 800, I get approximately 3 to 1. Or if you put this in your calculator, you'll get an answer that's a little bit more than 3. Okay, so C is a possibility. And then the final one for E is asking us all employees to part-time employees in New York. So all employees means we're taking from the blue and the red, which is going to be the greatest by far. So that's about, let's say, 6,250 maybe. We're doing all to part-time employees. So the part-time employees is about, let's say, 1,250. And if you reduce that in your calculator, you will get 5 to 1. So then the answer choice is E for number 3. Number 4. For number 4, we're asked for the percent of full-time jobs in Washington, D.C. So to figure that out, first find the fractional part of full-time jobs in D.C. So that's going to be full-time jobs divided by all jobs total. So the total would be the blue plus the red, which is around 3,200 jobs. And the full-time jobs are going to go from here to here. So if this is 3,200 and we say that this is about 800, then we have 2,400 jobs that are full-time. So that's going to be 2,400 over 3,200. That simplifies to, that's going to be, this cancels out, and I can divide the top and bottom by 4, and I get 6 over 8, and then I can divide by 2 again. So I get 3/4. So 3/4 of the job are full-time. If you don't know that that's 75%, put it in your calculator. 3 divided by 4 gives you 0.75, and that is 75%. Number 5, last one. Okay, so we are given a table that shows the number of siblings that each student in a sociology class has. So students in this class have between 0 and 7 siblings. 6 students have no siblings, 9 students have 1 sibling, 12 students have 2 siblings, and so on and so forth. So we're asked, among the group of students who have 3 or fewer siblings, how many total siblings do they have? Okay, so we're just looking at this part of the chart, and we're told that 6 students have 0 siblings, so that's just 6 times 0, which is 0. 9 students have 1 sibling, so that's a total of 9 times 1 siblings. 12 students have 2 siblings, so that is 24. And then 13 students have 3 siblings, which is 39. And all we have to do is add this up to get the total number of siblings. So this is going to be 24 plus 9 is 33, plus another 39 is 72. So between this group of students, among this group of students, they have 72 siblings. Answer choice E. That concludes Chapter 14. Make sure you go to the official guide and do the associated problems and then move on to Chapter 15. And we'll see you back next time. Thank you.